How's it going, everyone, and welcome back to another video. In this one I'm going to be hands-on with the Launch X431 Euro Tab 2. I've been using this daily in the workshop for over a month now, and I'm going to be giving you my feedback on how I found this tool, some of the benefits, some of the drawbacks, and whether I'd recommend this tool for purchase. Okay, so first of all, before I jump into the unboxing on this and break down what's included in this kit, I just want to say this is a completely impartial review, just my honest feedback on how I found this tool in the workshop, using it daily for over a month across a whole wide range of makes and models. I'm using it from my perspective, what I need in the workshop with the vehicles I see. That can be different depending on what part of the world you live in. Also, I'm going to be critical on this tool based on its price point. It is sitting in the range of close to 9,000 Australian dollars in the market. So with that in mind, it's going to be judged at the highest level of its capabilities, meaning how fast it is, connectivity issues, how many times it failed to connect to vehicles, etc., and what it didn't have in regards to bidirectional controls. Anything that I've found, I am judging it based on the price point it sits in. So with that in mind, let's get straight into the unboxing. And what you're seeing before you here is me just take it out of the big box, and it has two blow molded case that come with the vehicle. Okay, so in one of the blow molded cases we have the OBD1 adapters and leads. So you're talking about over 20 adapters that comes. This is going to be of benefit to you if you're working on older vehicles in particular. If you're not, you may or may not need this at all, but it is always handy to have. I've always had OBD1 connectors in any workshop that I've worked on, and while you may not grab them all the time, it is certainly something you will need from time to time if you have a certain type of vehicle or age range come into your workshop. Now, in the other blow molded case is the tablet itself, the Euro Tab 2. It is a rugged, well built bit of equipment. It has a docking station and it's got the OBD2 lead that comes with it. That lead, just to touch on that for a second, is a little bit short. Would have liked a little bit longer of a lead just so it would be able to sit in a better position in the dash or around the gear stick when I'm doing test drives, but I have talked to Launch and there is a longer lead that you can get. It just wasn't included in the kit. Now back to the tablet itself, it's got a 10-inch screen. It operates Android 7 system. It's got front and rear cameras, 8 megapixel on the front, 13 megapixel on the rear. It's inbuilt mics as well. And one of the large benefits of this tool is it is a wireless product. So you're going to have that functionality throughout your workshop as you're plugged in. So if you want to go away and work on the vehicle while you're away from the vehicle, you certainly can do that. That puts me on to the remote diagnosis that is available with this vehicle. So even working off-site, you have the potential to tap into that. So if that's something in your workshop that you would be doing, or you could find a benefit, this is certainly a tool that you should consider. And with this being a wireless tablet, you do have the additional benefits that come along with that type of setup in your scan tool. We'll touch on those in a second. Let's just talk about the specs for one moment. The screen is an IPS screen. It's got 1920 by 1200. The CPU is 8 core, 2 gigahertz. Operating system was previously Android 6.0, updated version 7.0. RAM 2 gig. Storage is 64 gig. USB 2.0. You have a 5G Wi-Fi diagnosis, which is better than Bluetooth, and you have an inbuilt speaker audio, so you're going to be able to watch certain things on this tablet and listen to them without going for any additional headphone inputs, etc. You also have a phenomenal battery in this. It's a 15,000 milliamp hour lithium polymer, and I can confirm over the month that battery was very, very good in the workshop. Now, the simple but very effective benefits of having a tablet setup is you can flick to your browser at any moment and you can tab back and over to look up certain things. And let's say you want to look up your favorite YouTuber and see if they have any videos related to the fault that you're currently working on. You can do that, and you can play the video directly from there and listen to the audio with the inbuilt speakers. Again, this functionality is extremely useful if you have any additional software that you can just add on and log into. The likes of an Autodata, the likes of a Haynes Pro, the likes of any manuals or dealership level logins, you can put them on and you can log in and check to see if you have any relatable information, or if you're looking for specific resets, etc. You will have access at your fingertips without leaving the vehicle or searching on a PC laptop separately. And as this is a high level professional scan tool, we're going to have a service function with a lot of capabilities. It's got 27 inbuilt service functions, so that includes brake reset, oil maintenance reset, steering angle reset, battery match and ABS bleeding, throttle body relearn, TPMS reset, DPF, adaptive front lighting, AdBlue reset, air fuel reset, air level calibration. So you're talking about your Merc, Stim, air suspension, Jeep, etc. You should be able to calibrate with this. Coolant bleeding, again, where you have those electronic control thermostats, you'll be able to do some coolant bleeding with this. Crank position, sensor adaptive learning, EGR adaption, EGR relearn, immobilizer. Now you will need additional add-ons for that. Immobilizer reset, injector coding, NOx sensor, seat occupancy calibration. So you have an issue with your electronic seats, and you know you have them saved storage capacities 1 and 2, where they learn certain positions. You have the function to calibrate the seat in the stop start reset, sunroof reset, tire reset, transport mode as well. So quite a lot. And window calibration being the last one. The tire reset, I believe, is if you're changing tire size or rims, you're able to match it to the vehicle so your odometer doesn't go out, and you have the correct wheel rotation on the vehicle. I believe that's what that one relates to. So a lot of additional service functions, and that's going to cover a wide band of things that you're going to want to cover in the workshop. The remote diagnosis we touched on earlier. The ADAS. Now this part of the review is where I feel the tool is at its best, but also at its worst, and I'll explain why in a second. The reason I feel it's at its best is it has the compatibility to do these additional service items. So ADAS calibration, you're talking about the advanced driver assistance systems. Now they're becoming more and more common in vehicles, so having that toolbox functionality with all of those items inbuilt in it is fantastic. But for the price point, I am very disappointed that it doesn't have a scope that comes with the tool. Having a 4-channel or a 2-channel scope inbuilt in the kit would be a huge plus, and it would save you having to operate a separate system for some simple checks that you might be doing on a cam, crank, etc., and you want to just get hands on quickly and use it. I'm used to the SnapOn Mode in the workshop, and I know that the functionality of having a 2-channel lab scope readily there available and quick access is fantastic, and I wouldn't want to lose that from my current setup. I also have a Pico scope which is separate. Again, very good to have both, because you're not going to have all of the functionality in these types of scopes like you would in a Pico scope. You're not going to have the wide range of parameter presets or that quick zoom in, zoom out analysis. The sample rates, phenomenal on a Pico scope to capture every minute detail. But for general waveform analysis and quick signal checks, having a lab scope is imperative in my opinion. That is a major letdown for me, and I'm sure it'll be a major letdown for other people that you don't have the scope inbuilt in a kit at this price point. So in the Euro Tab 3 kit, you're going to get the 4-channel oscilloscope, and you're going to get that TS gun TPMS, including 4 sensors as well. So an option, I'm not sure of the price point, would be that Euro Tab 3. It does have a bigger display. It runs Android 9, and instead of 27 service functions, it has 33, and I think it covers over 100 manufacturers, where this is over 70. So a decent amount of improvement in the overall kit, and I'm not sure on the price point increase, but something to consider if you're buying this for your workshop and those things are important to you. So now that we've included and gone through a large part of what the scan tool functions are and the capabilities, let's just talk about some of the internal features in the tablet on the layout. So intelligent diagnose, that means you're going to connect to the VCI, read the VIN, and decode the VIN from there. You have a topology layout that comes from that. You could see all the communication of the modules, and then you can quick access whichever ones are red if there's a fault there, and you can access it from there. It's a nice simple layout to it. It goes through it reasonably quickly as it's going through the process. In my opinion, some other scan tools are quicker at reading modules than this one is, but overall relatively quick going across it. You can change that layout as well if you're not overly fond of that layout. I know some of the other techs that were using it didn't like it. I didn't mind it. I think it was okay, but I do prefer some other simpler layouts than that one. The diagnostic reporting and the history of the diagnostic ones that you would have done, very useful. Like most of these level tools, you can generate a report, whether it's a pre-report or a post-report of diagnosis, and you can attach it onto a customer's job card so they have as much details as possible. Really good with saving time on having to write up reports. You can just attach them on, print them out, and give them to the customer so they can take them away. Also on it, when you're looking at vehicle coverage, it shows you how much of a range that this should be covering. It, again, not the fastest at going in and out of these high packed areas where there's so much data inbuilt in them, but you can have a quick overview there of how much it does passenger vehicles, commercial vehicles. It even has motorcycle listing there depending on what your requirements are and what package you have. On the maintenance side, this is something I want to touch on, because this as I was speaking earlier, in building these type of things in a tool like this is very important. So when you go into the Launch Professional database and you're overviewing, let's say, a certain vehicle that you want to see if there's any TSBs or any recalls, or deep dive a bit more into it, I believe fully that this should be part of the price point. You have 2 years of updates with it, even if they included 1 year of this launch database, so you could actually view it, see if it's of benefit to you, and then, I don't know, take it off if you didn't like it afterwards, or if you already have that database. But I really think this should be a package from the get-go. Now, what I really didn't like is having this Haynes Pro Launch Professional database included. I was extremely excited about it. I was flicking through it, I was checking, and then what I found was the TSBs was stroked out, and I couldn't actually review it. So same with the cases on the lower side. You could go into the recalls when you're going through the overview, electronics, smart pack, you're in the smart pack and you're looking through it, and you could find the recall data. So if you have, let's say in this one, there's an airbag failure, I'm clicking into it, I can see why that is the case and how many it has affected. So 3-spoke sports steering wheel, driver's airbag deployment, failure in a crash, number of affected vehicles 541. Solution, renew the driver's airbag. Great information to have. You can print that out straight away, show it to the customer, and talk about recalls. Show the level of expertise you have in the workshop to go, yeah, this vehicle that we have here, this has potential recalls, has that customer been made aware of it. So with them type of features, you get to show your expertise to a customer. They're more comfortable that you're familiar with their vehicle, you're giving them information on potential recalls. I think it's excellent to be able, as a technician, to be able to draw on them type of things and feed that back to the customer. The other one is TSBs for diagnosing. As we know now, if you are going to spend a ton of time fixing these problems, it is great to potentially save that time if another tech has been through it, or many techs have been through these problems, and it becomes a TSB readily available. It's not going to give you the quick and simple fix on everything, but it could aid in your diagnostic approach. You could be about to go one way, you see a TSB, you hone it a different way, and you start to dial in quicker. The faster we can find these problems, the better it is for the customer. If we can dial in quicker, whether it's TSBs, whether it's other information that we have readily available, then we can use our capabilities diagnostically to see if it's relevant to the problem that we have at hand. Specific fault codes related to those TSBs are going to be imperative to be able to go, yeah, we have a possibility, let's go through the checks. TSBs are never going to be a silver bullet to find every problem. You're going to have many different areas in a vehicle, whether it's something got damaged, impact damage, a wire break, etc., that you're not going to have a TSB related to. You're still going to have to use that diagnostic knowledge that you have, know what the fault code can mean, and know what would trigger that fault code to come about. The likes of being able to use wiring diagrams and go through the process of elimination. Wiring diagrams on this type of tool would be fantastic as well. If you could tab in and out, access those wiring diagrams, and be able to use another layer onto it to find and fix problems. Again, with the Launch Professional database, I didn't have that available, so I felt a bit left wanting in overall capabilities. Now, as I'm coming towards the end of this review, I just want to give some on-vehicle feedback on it. First of all, I'm judging this to the highest standard based on the price point. There is some things I'll allow for in a lower end tool, the likes of refresh rate, speed, connectivity, dropouts, etc., that I wouldn't even necessarily talk about in a lower end product, because that's just, I think it's fair game in certain price ranges. When you're talking about the highest level price point of tools, we expect speed, connectivity, and refresh rate graphing, all of that to be extremely good. Unfortunately for this, the connectivity was a main issue with the VCI. That smartbox, when working remotely, continuously dropped out for me. Over 10 plus times it happened within a month, and it happened to other techs as well. This is extremely frustrating in a workshop, that you have them dropouts, communication issues. It wasn't related to the Wi-Fi. I hotspotted to it from my phone as well, and no other issues of anything else connected to the Wi-Fi in the workshop had any faults. I believe it was related to the VCI. Speaking to the launch rep, he said maybe a software update, etc., might improve it, but unfortunately for the month I had too many of them, and it has to be noted as something of a frustration. You can work offline with these products, but again, the benefits of having that wireless connectivity and how we're using it, we want it to be able to function. So where I think this tool sits in the market is it's very good for Euros and for Chinese. Overall on the Australian market, I didn't think it was very good. The Holland side of it, communication issues, but also communication failures. So there was certain modules and communications that it didn't have, and I was able to confirm that by grabbing another scan tool, checking in. I was able to communicate with the PCM on those Commodores and other Holdens that it failed on. So that was a frustration, but again, I don't think this one is particularly strong in the Australian market. I think there's going to be other ones that are of benefit. So depending you are in the world, will make that decision easier for you. If you are based in Europe, you're not going to have those Holden vehicles that I'm dealing with, and you're going to have a stronger coverage range than what I have, if that makes sense. Now, a couple of the surprise factors was some of the bidirectional control failures. While there wasn't a whole host of them, there was a common vehicle in a Focus. You're talking about 2005 to 2009 range, and I wanted to do a couple of very basic things. I wanted to do a throttle body relearn. After on one vehicle I removed the throttle body to clean it all up and put it back on. I wanted to do a throttle relearn, and it didn't have the well, it said it had the capabilities, but when I went in to do it, it actually wouldn't do it. Same, I did an EGR valve on one of them as well, and it wasn't able to do the relearn adaptation, and it wasn't able to bi-directionally control the EGR. So a couple of frustrations there on what I would deem very common vehicles, 2-litre petrol engine, and should be able to do them. So in conclusion, after using the EuroTab 2 for over a month, I have found that it is a very capable and powerful tool. Just some of those additional accessories that you can purchase show the capabilities that it has. Unfortunately, all those additional costs make this tool in the highest price range that you can imagine. So with careful consideration of what your workshop requirements are, what your vehicle repair requirements are, that will give you the best opportunity to buy this tool for what you need it. Do you need that advanced driver system repair, that ADAS? Is that something of benefit? The programming, ECU programming and coding, remote diagnosing. Do you want the additional capabilities to have a 4-channel scope with it and you don't mind purchasing that? The inbuilt Haynes Pro, do you mind having that as an additional add-on cost and you would like it as part of the tool as well? Those are all careful considerations that you need to make when purchasing this. Always love Launch products. I've owned so many of them over the year. I still have the 909 tool in my box that I grab from time to time, and it is a very, very capable, useful tool that sits in a very cheap price point. You're talking about under $1,000 for a tool that can do many, many things. Now, what you have to allow for is when you're jumping up such a high price point difference, how much extra additional value are you going to have of benefit to your workshop? So when you transfer that on to sales in your workshop, how much extra customers is it going to be bringing in potentially, and how much extra jobs are you going to be able to do? These are all considerations I always took into account when looking at a scan tool. The Launch X431 Pro 3 that I owned previously, that had multiple combinations of capabilities and additional features from previous scan tools, and the main one for me was the wireless connectivity that operated through a Bluetooth compatibility, and it had a range of I think up to about 10 meters. But I was using that in my office, and I was able to do live data checks while doing other jobs in the office. Like, for example, I could be checking some wiring diagrams while it's running up, getting up to temperature, and I'm also monitoring to see if there's any dropouts happening. That was a very big benefit to me. Also, the reset service functions it had was wide ranging. That is still the case. So depending on your workshop, what you need, what are the requirements that you want, you have to weigh up the major price point differences. Is a Launch X431 Pro 3 price point going to be a good enough product for you? Or is the extra additional add-ons that this launch brings with it what you require for today's vehicles that you're working on? For me, I think there's a couple of better options for our workshop, and I would be considering the likes of a SnapOn when it's like for like, and functionality, speed of use, graphing, how it operates on live data test drives. I love a good graphing scan tool. I like to be able to get in and out of things quickly and be able to grab wiring information, pinouts, layouts, and TSBs. All are huge factors when I would be making my decision. So those advanced diagnostic sides are becoming more integrated into scan tools, and with that may make your decision easier, and in some cases more difficult, depending on what you're looking for. And that is it for my review on the Launch EuroTab 2 scan tool. I hope you got some insight and information in this review that makes it of benefit to you if you're considering purchasing this tool, that I included something that you may not have seen in a written document or a previous review. If you haven't seen one of these high-level scan tools in use before, maybe it gives you a better understanding as to why you might upgrade your setup and some additional jobs that you can do. As always, thanks a million for watching. Subscribe if you haven't. Give the video a big thumbs up if you liked it, and I really hope to see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.